Who wants to help me find the northern saw-whet owl? You ready? Let's go.
This is a great habitat for the northern saw-whet owl. They love these coniferous trees, and very, very common to see them in white pines. This is what I like to show people. Ethical viewing of the owl, giving it its space. You can see it's unbothered, it's sleeping, going about its own business, and I can admire it from afar. It's so cute.
So fun fact about the saw-whet owl, it is one of the smallest owls in North America.
There it is. Such an adorable little bird.
I'm Dr. Alvin Thomas. My work and this show is dedicated to educating, validating, elevating, and celebrating the importance of Black fatherhood. This is the Black Fatherhood Podcast. The voice you heard at the top of the show was Dexter Patterson, also known as the Wisco Birder. Dexter Patterson is a multimedia professional contributing as a freelance photographer, writer, faculty member in the Department of Life Sciences Communication at UW-Madison, and co-founder of the BIPOC Birding Club of Wisconsin. And with the never-ending sense of enthusiasm that you heard in the opening clip, Dexter is on a mission to spread as much joy as possible by making his new hobby of bird watching welcoming for all birders around the state. In addition to his work at the club, Dexter Patterson teaches a photography course for the Department of Life Sciences Communication here at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. And he is a proud dad of
4.
And he's a proud dad of 4. Thank you so much, and welcome, Dexter.
Thanks for having me, Alvin.
So I've been stalking Dexter online since I learned that he lived in Madison and was chasing birds around the place. And I've been chasing birds from my my backyard window on a very amateurish level. And just seeing the kinds of birds that Dexter comes across is just really exciting to see the work that he's doing, but also to kind of see and witness the infectious enthusiasm with which he does it. One of the missions of the BIPOC Birding Club is to create community for birders who are otherwise made to feel or felt unwelcome in the birding world. How did that come about, and who does this serve? How do you do this?
Yeah, I would say it was kind of a dream in progress for over a decade. So my academic advisor, when I decided to go back to school as a returning adult student, was Dr. Jeff Galligan at Madison College. And Dr. Galligan was actually the first Black man that I had ever met that was a birder. So it was kind of like one of these moments where like I finally met this person that made birding feel like it was for me. And he happened to be my academic advisor. He happened to be this person that I looked up to. He happened to be this person that was trying to help me take my life to that next level. So we had a connection. And this was way back in 2010, right? So I decided to go back, and I finally meet this Black man who's a birder. And it was just like, for all these years, I always told people, I've always liked birds. But I was always like a little bit afraid to tell people that I like birds, right? So growing up how I grew up, you don't see a lot of people that look like me, that look like you, that are like professing their love for birds. You just don't see it. So it was one of those things where I kind of kept it to myself, and I always admired them. And I always tell people I just never gave them the attention they deserved. I never gave them the attention they deserved. And then that all changed when I met Dr. Jeff Galligan, because it was just like, look at him, this guy I admire, this man I admire loves birds, and he's a birder, and he's a bird photographer. And it was kind of like that spark that let me know, like, this is for me.
That is awesome. The serendipity is just dripping off of that story. But why is it though that? So I did not realize I loved birds until I want to say maybe 20. See, like the 20s. 2010, 2011, 2012, maybe around there. And this is when I was visiting friends up in the Northwoods in Ashland, Wisconsin. I suddenly realized, oh my God, there are all these birds. They're all over the place. They're blue, they're red, they're yellow, they're big, they're small, they're funny. And I would, like you, not be telling many people. And I think I just don't even mention it to certain friends because it's not an interest that would pop up. Why is it that we don't think of Black people as outdoorsy, like swimming, surfing, fishing, birding, camping? Why are there still these spaces that we assume Black people should not be in?
I think similar to that fear conversation that we just had about me having a little bit of fear of telling people that I like birds, I think that fear also runs true to these outdoor spaces. When we think about the historical nature of the outdoors in our country and how those spaces have treated people of color, that fear is always been there. Whether we're talking about lynching, racism, there are a lot of different reasons why people of color have avoided these outdoor spaces because for many years we weren't welcome. For many years, Black people could not go to national parks. For many years, Black people could not go to public pools. For many years, Black people couldn't do a lot of things in this country. And I think that people forget that time period and don't realize that those traditions are typically passed on, right? From father to son, father to daughter, grandfather to grandson and granddaughter and so forth, right? So if you're not taking family trips, or your family never took family trips, a lot of times outdoors is just not going to be a part of your life. So I think that's a big part of it that people kind of ignore or forget is just the historical nature of people of color in these outdoor spaces as a whole has never been very welcoming. And when I think about birding, and I think about all these traditional birding spaces, and when I think about when I started actually going to birding events, I never saw people that looked like me. I never saw people that looked like me attending the events. Right. And I damn sure never saw people that looked like me leading them. So that was one of those moments where it was kind of like, you know, I'm kind of at this stage in my life where I'm like, am I a part of the solution or am I part of the problem? Right. And it was so crazy because I'm like, well, I want to be part of the solution. These birds make me happy. My life is improving. My health is improving. My mental health is improving. I'm getting my kids outside as a father. And it was just like I started noticing all these tangible, real changes in my life that really got me excited about trying to share this more. And going back to Dr. Jeff Galligan, even after I graduated, you know, I left Madison College. He was my bird guy. So as I was kind of like figuring all this out, and like you said, seeing all these different birds, they're blue, they're red, they're yellow, they're all these things, and I'm figuring this out, I would be sending the pictures to Jeff, like, Jeff, what's this? What is this one? What is this one? What is this one? And I swear, for a long time, I thought I was probably driving this man crazy. Right? I was like, this dude is probably getting sick of all these text messages. But little did I know he was loving it. He was like nurturing this bird nerd for all these years, because kind of answering this question, answering that question. And he just kept doing it and kept doing it and kept doing it. And it was just really kind of gave me this confidence. And I always tell people, once you start to pay attention, Alvin, when you went to Ashland and you start paying attention to all these different birds, it's hard to stop, right? It's hard to stop. So I didn't stop. I just kept wanting to learn more and more and more and more. And it's so crazy. Fast forward over a decade, Jeff sends me an email. Hey, Dex, I just want to check on you, see how you're doing, right? So when we're talking about educators and we're talking about making an impact on students, think about Jeff maintaining a relationship with me for over a decade, right? He sends me this email And he's like, "Hey, I just want to check on you. He's like, and I had started my Wisco Birder thing,
Right.
And I've started creating videos, and I was sharing photos, and I was doing different things. And he was like, I just want to tell you I'm proud of you. And he's like, we should get together soon. Let's go birding. So we start looking at our schedules, and we figure out a time to actually go birding together. And it just so happened, and we did not plan this. It was so crazy. It was Juneteenth. It was Juneteenth 2021. I remember like it was yesterday. We meet up at Nine Springs Eway in Madison, Wisconsin, just to go birding, to catch up, see how things are going. At this time, I was at the University of Wisconsin working and birding a lot, right? Really kind of birding a lot, kind of changing the game on what people thought a birder looked like, how people bird. Here's this black man singing, dancing, rapping in the woods, running around, bringing his kids, having fun, celebrating, right? A lot of these traditional spaces are super stuffy, right? They tell people to be quiet in the woods and all this stuff. I don't bird like that. We don't bird like that. We have fun. And I always tell people, like, I have fun and I'm excited and I see more birds than you and you're always quiet. What does that tell you? And they have no answer.
Right.
They have no answer. There's yeah. So I'm gonna have fun. I'm gonna continue to be excited in the woods, and I'm gonna encourage people to have fun. Because if you have fun, guess what? You're gonna go back. You're gonna go back. And just like Jeff and I, always going back. So June 21st, 2021, or Juneteenth 2021, we meeting up at Nine Springs Eway, and we just start birding. We're catching up, we're laughing, we're having fun. That day, we birded over 3 hours together.
Whoa.
And there was one point where I look at Jeff, and I'm like, bro, at this point, I look at him like big brother now, like my mentor, no longer academic advisor, just a black man that really has cultivated my confidence and has been there for me for over a decade, like a family member, like somebody that nurturing relationship. So I look at him, I'm like, bro, we got to share this with more people. And it was at that moment, he looks back at me, he said, Dexter, I've been wanting to do this for over 20 years. He said, I've been wanting to start a birding club for over 20 years. And I was like, well, why haven't you? And he was like, look at these traditional spaces. He said, I've never felt like I've had a support system to do it in the way I want to do it. He said, I want to create a space for people of color and allies that believe in trying to build a more equitable and inclusive birding community. He's like, I just never felt like I had anybody I could do that with. And I was like, you do now. And that was it. Like, and the way Jeff is, like, we balance each other so well. He is very analytical, and I'm like the big idea guy, right? So like we have both. When you think about the scale, we're yin and yang when it comes to how we operate things. And he said, Dexter, if we do not schedule our first event within these next 24 hours, it probably won't happen. So he tasked us to really get to work. And he said, if we can make something happen within the next 24 hours, we'll have our club. So we did it. We literally stayed up all night in the next couple of days thinking about a name, thinking about our mission, thinking about what we wanted to do in the birding community. And we literally started and booked our first event 1 month later at that same place at Nine Springs Eway in July of 21. And the rest is history.
That is an awesome history. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. So we had another guest, James Mills. He talks about something he calls the adventure gap and says that it's real. He says in 2010, of the nearly 40 million people who participated in outdoor activities in the U.S., nearly 80% were white. Black people continue to have the lowest overall participation rate for outdoor activities, but that rate has increased each year for the past 5 years. Talk to us about some of the other barriers. You mentioned just having that support system, but what other barriers exist to accessing those spaces? Cultural barriers, geographical, financial barriers, and others.
Yeah, I think that's a big one. I think access as a whole is when I think about when I think about low-income neighborhoods, so I grew up in low-income neighborhoods, and you think about where a lot of people of color are living in this country, a lot of times they're in lower income neighborhoods, right? I don't want to put everybody in a box, but that simply is just the case. Right. And when you go to these neighborhoods, guess what you don't see? You don't see green spaces. You don't see a lot of trees. You don't see a lot of these things. So you grow up not really thinking about nature. You grow up not seeing a lot of different birds other than maybe some house sparrows here or there, or maybe a robin, right? You don't see these birds coming through. You don't have green spaces. Nature just isn't a part of it. So I think it's access as a whole and getting to some of these places, having people that can take kids. Jeff always says, if you can see it, you can be it. And that's a big part of what we do with the club is we encourage parents to bring their kids. You know, being a father myself, he's a father as well. We encourage people to bring their kids because we feel like if we can light that spark in them early and get them outside into some of these beautiful areas, they will grow up with a different perspective. They will grow up knowing that maybe ornithology is for them, or biology, or any of the STEAM access to STEAM, and thinking about STEAM differently as a kid. And as they grow up, maybe there's an opportunity for them there. So for me, I think it's access. It's definitely financial. We always try to book our events on bus lines. We'll do our best to be able to see if anybody wants to carpool to certain events. I think about when we do events in Milwaukee, they actually have a forest, a state forest that is located by a housing project. It's called Haven Woods. So we'll actually go to Haven Woods and host events and partner with an amazing organization called Nearby Nature in Milwaukee that is dedicated to getting people of color outside in those projects and things like that. So I think right now, what we have to do, James is a dear friend as well, and we go on hikes together. He's gone birding with us. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to bring these spaces to people that typically just don't have them, right? Creating those safe spaces. I tell you what, some people may be interested in birding, people of color, but guess what? They're scared of rural Wisconsin. They're scared of rural areas. Right. They're scared because they don't see people like them. They're scared because when they're rolling into some of these rural towns, they may see a Confederate flag. They may see a Trump flag, right? They may see these things and then they're like, oh my, I'm not getting out of my car. Not by myself. Right. And guess what we do? We create that space and maybe you'll be with 30 people. Right. 40 people. Now you're no longer afraid. Now you're looking around, you see people like you. You see people like myself and Jeff or Rita or Sean, all people of color leading you. So you see yourself, you know that you're safe. So we create these safe spaces for people to just be able to live in that moment so they can find that red bird, that blue bird, that yellow bird, right? So they can just start to pay attention and not worry. So it's access, it's financial. It's what they see. It's them not seeing themselves in a lot of these different spaces. And then outdoor spaces as a whole, that is a problem. Bigger than just the birding community. You know, I happen to just be in that. But when I think about the outdoor spaces in general, I think representation as a whole is lacking. And that's what's keeping people away.
So I'm happy that you brought up some of these potential dangers, because these barriers definitely can create life and death situations. People being where they quote unquote shouldn't be could cause a real threat. So we think of people like, or instances like that of Mr. Christian Cooper, the Central Park birder, or the teenager in the New York City hotel who was falsely accused of stealing a phone in a luxury hotel, because how dare he be in a luxury hotel in black skin? That the challenge of being in those spaces where you might not, where the space does not make you feel like you should be there or that you're worthy of being there, beyond the actual individuals making space and community for themselves, how else can we as a society normalize the idea that black people can be in, quote unquote, not normally Black spaces? How do we create that space?
We got to live it. I think about it. The way we normalize it is we do it. We live it. We show up at these spaces. I think about, you mentioned Christian Cooper and what happened with Christian. And that incident sparked a movement globally, globally and in our country about these issues of Black people being in nature and being targeted like they don't belong. And it actually sparked Black Birders Week, which I think about, this is a great example, because now every year Black Birders Week is just mobilizing all these Black bird nerds all over the country. And it's showcasing, we are out here. Last year, that was the theme. We out here. We are out here. And this is normal. And I remember Christian actually, in 2022, he actually organized a Black Birders retreat. And myself and birders from all over the country, we all gathered together on Little St. Simon's Island off the coast of Georgia. And we just networked. We got to know each other. And it was such a beautiful thing. And I'm just looking around at all these Black birders that I have been following on, whether it's Twitter or Instagram. And, we're social media friends. But to see them in person and be able to hug them and high five them and dap them up, and we're birding on this exclusive island, seeing all these beautiful birds, and we're literally game planning. What do we want this to be? And Christian said something to me as we were watching. We were all out one morning. We're walking the beach, and I'm like, Black birders, and he's like, yes, but we're birders. and that really kind of stuck to me, because he was like, I don't want people to see us as Black birders.
Right.
I want people to see us as birders. We're Black people that go birding. We are birders. And that's something that really just stuck in my head, where I'm like, yes, the way we normalize it is Black people show up outside and go birding. We are birders. We're Black people that go birding. See my color, yes, but I'm not a Black birder. I'm a birder. I'm a Black man that goes birding. And that is what we got to do. We have to just show up and live these moments and show people that we belong.
So I like how you've made that meaning around it. But you mentioned your kids earlier. How do you then take that kind of a affirmation and a meaning making and talk to your kids about being in those spaces that society may not expect them to inhabit? How do you talk to your kids about being in those spaces?
Because they're with me. They see dad leading, and it's so great, because they'll come to the events and they see all these people that look up to their father, right? They see their father educating other people and mentoring other kids and making other people smile. It makes them proud, right? They see their dad in national magazines. They see their dad in the news, in the newspapers and stuff, and it makes them proud. So they know. Right? They know that these spaces are for them, because I take them there. And they see that when they see how their father leads, right? Leading by example, back to, if you can see it, you can be it. They see their dad doing it, so they know it's for them. And I try to make it fun for them. My kids, my two youngest especially, love birds. They love going birding, but they just like being outside. So I'll have them, maybe I'll give them a cell phone, and they have these different apps, and these kids, they're so technically savvy. So I as an educator, started thinking about ways, how can I make these experiences not just about the birds, but about getting outside? So there's an app called Seek, SEEK. And what it does is you can take pictures of plants and flowers and different things in the outdoors, and it will tell you what plant you're looking at or what flower you're looking at. So I always tell the parents, let your kids look at the flowers. Let them climb a tree. Let them roll in the grass. Let them do all these things that kids should do outside, right? And the parents, they finish, and they're like, not only is my kid gonna sleep well tonight, but we had fun, right? They had fun, and they see the smiles and the laughs and stuff. So I get this so much out of them. They're like, well, how do you get kids involved with this? And I say, let them be kids.
Right.
don't make it so stuffy. Make it fun. I always tell people, and they get a little like, what is he saying? I say, birding is not about the birds. And they're like, the biggest bird nerd I know is telling me that birding isn't about the birds. And I tell them why. I said, there's so much more to birding. The mental health benefits, right? There is research that proves that just hearing bird calls lowers cortisol levels. That being in the forest, right? Forest bathing takes away depression and minimizes depression and anxiety and things. So I was thinking about post-COVID, how birding really kept me sane because I was outside. I was listening to birds. I was getting fresh air. And then I think about the physical health benefits. You're walking, you're hiking. There are times I'll be outside. I told you, Jeff and I, when we went out, it was over 3 hours. Do you know how long you walk for 3 hours? So next thing you know, now I'm getting physical health
6,000 steps
mental.
probably.
Right. So you're getting physical health benefits as well, but then you're just outside, you're breathing, you're getting vitamin D, you're seeing other animals, you're seeing plants, you're seeing people, the community. And I think about our flock, and that is the one thing that I get so excited about for our events. It's seeing our people, seeing these people that we've cultivated these amazing relationships with over the last couple years. That community means something, and the birds are kind of the bonus, right? So all those different things are why I tell people birding is for everyone, is because there is definitely something there for you.
So here's an interesting question. You're a father. We mentioned that at the top of the show. What has your experience as a birder taught you about parenting?
Oh, you know what? The number one thing is patience. It's patience, because there are so many times I might go out and I'm like looking for a bird and I strike out. Right. Or I see the bird and I get my camera up and it flies away. Or, right, there's all these different elements of where I'm like, you just kind of have to be in the moment. And I remember I see people stressing out, chasing birds here, there, and all over the place. And they're all about these lists and stuff like that. And I'm like, I'm going to see it one day. Right? That is literally the mentality that I take. It has made me a more patient human being. It has made me a more patient human being as a whole, which being a father, I have 4 girls. So if I'm not patient as a black man raising 4 daughters and they're all beautiful, I'm telling you, this extra patience is definitely made me a better dad on so many different levels.
So I know I do my birding from my back window, like I told you, and my front windows now. So I have bird feeders on all of my windows, and I get to watch them come up. I put up a little house where the finches and little smaller birds can nest during the winter. So I get that really immediate stuff, but it doesn't force me to go outside of my house. How, for somebody like me or somebody with kids who wants to be involved in birding or wants to go outdoors, how would you suggest that they kind of get into that space? Because it's not common for them. How do they make that first step?
You know, I love that you mentioned your backyard. And I always tell people, start a backyard list. And start paying attention to what you actually see in your backyard, from your porch, your front yard, whatever you may have around where you live, and start a list. You're going to be surprised in all seasons how many birds are always around you. And that alone will spark some interest. And then I will say, walk around your neighborhood. And now expand that list out from just your backyard to your neighborhood. And once you do that, it really is going to start this wonder of like, what? All of these birds are around me? And I will also say, if you're new, there's another app that I will recommend. It's called the Merlin Bird
I have
ID.
Merlin. It is magic. It is magic.
Because if you're new, right, Alvin, and it not only if you take a picture on your cell phone, it can help you ID, but they have a sound ID feature. Because you can be like, what is that noise?
Yes.
What is that noise? And the next thing you're like, That's a blue jay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's a European starling.
Yep.
Oh, that's a downy woodpecker. Oh, right. And then next thing you're like, how did I not know this? How did I not know all these birds were around me? And that is a great way to start, from the backyard to the neighborhood. And then maybe it's the park nearby after that. Maybe it's the nature preserve that's closest to you after that, or the conservancy, right? So you kind of just take baby steps. Now, I said one bird, one call at a time. Take that pressure off yourself. You don't need to be a pro. Please don't think you need to know all the answers. Just pay attention. They're always like, Dex, how do I go birding? I will say this. Look for movement. Birds are going to be moving everywhere, in the sky, on the ground, in the trees and bushes and water. They're going to be moving all over the place. Then I will say, listen for the music, because they make some beautiful sounds. So listen for the music. If you can do that, right? Look for movement, listen for the music. Eventually you're going to see something, but just be patient. Like we talked about with being patient. Maybe you hear it, but you don't see it. That's okay. There's going to be a time where you hear it and then you see it, because it's going to move. It's going to fly by you or something, right? So that's what I always tell people. Take the pressure off yourself. You don't need to have all the answers. Look for movement, listen for the music, and eventually you'll start to see all these feathered friends.
That was really awesome. That was Dexter Patterson, Wisco Birder. What an awesome conversation. I am going to be going outside and look for some birds.
Let's go.
And I need to get into this membership. I need to become a Wisco Birder as well. So
yes,
thank you so much for joining us.
We have monthly events, Madison, Milwaukee. Whenever you're ready to step outside of the backyard, we'd love to have you, Alvin.
I need to find and this is all online. I can find it all online.
Yep, BIPOCbirdingclub.org. Check us out there. We have an amazing newsletter, keep you up to date where we're going. We're always educating, but we host at least 2 events every month, all year round. Throughout the winter, 12 months a year, we're always birding.
You guys are out there in this cold weather. What's up
all
with you
the
guys?
time? We were just at the UW Arboretum.
You guys are
2
bird
weeks
nerds.
ago. 2 weeks ago, we were at the Arboretum. We had 42 people and a service dog. So yes, even in the winter, we got bird nerds coming out.
Cold winter weather, you're out there looking for birds.
Yep. Because some birds leave, some come around. Yeah. People always think all birds leave in the winter. That is not true.
Thank you so much, Dex. It is a pleasure.
Thank you.
You've been listening to the Black Fatherhood Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Alvin Thomas. I'm a clinical psychologist, researcher, and the director of the TriLab at the University of Wisconsin-Madison's School of Human Ecology. Original music for our series was composed and performed by Micaiah De Silva. Our series producer is Joe Ruby. The podcast is supported by the School of Human Ecology at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. And you can follow me on Twitter at Dr_AT758. That's Dr_AT758. And on the web at thomaslab.humanicology.wisc.edu. Make sure to subscribe to the Black Fatherhood Podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts.